Humans ask for miracles. People who don't believe in Allah ask for miracles so that they claim that they would accept Islam and the truth. Muslims ask for miracles and for signs so that they become better Muslims. Muslims ask for miracles through which Allah would elevate their state and improve their situation and their conditions. We're all expecting some kind of miracle. We want some miracle from Allah. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fix our affairs in some miraculous way. And because of that, we sit back and we give up our sense of responsibility, and we find something else to blame and hang the negative aspects of our life on. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to this in the Quran when He says, وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ آيَةٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ. And they ask, why doesn't Allah give him a sign, a miracle? Why doesn't Allah give him some miraculous sign that would open our hearts to faith and belief and iman? Why? This does not only apply to non-Muslims and people who refuse Islam and reject Islam, but also applies to many Muslims that when you tell them, why don't you pray? They say, I just don't feel like it now. Maybe at some stage in my life something happens and then I will pray. Why don't you truly believe in Allah? You're doing something haram, why don't you give it up? Why don't you fix your ways? Someday something will happen and I will, become a better Muslim. I will become a good Muslim. I will start praying. And you can take the same kind of analogy with so many actions, with so many attitudes by non-Muslims and by Muslims themselves. But to the question of a sign and a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah responds by saying, قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْآيَاتُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Say the signs and the miracles are with Allah and from Allah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يُشْعِرُكُمْ أَنَّهَا إِذَا جَاءَتْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. And how would you know that even if these signs and miracles took place and Allah sent them down, what's the guarantee that these people would accept them and believe in them? There is an Eastern proverb or a piece of wisdom that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Oftentimes we misconstrue and misunderstand our relationship with the truth. We think that we are neutral. We think that we are open to the truth and we are receptive to it, but the truth hasn't come our way. But the reality is, the truth is everywhere. Wherever you turn your eyesight, you will find the truth. Miracles are all over the place, but we have not opened our eyes and our hearts to see them for what they really are. Human life itself is a miracle. The human body and everything in it and within it has so many miracles. Life itself is a miracle. The air that we breathe is a miracle. Our heart that beats is a miracle. The way your hair grows is a miracle. The way you are able to speak and express your feelings into words is a miracle. The fact that you can see is a miracle. Water itself that we drink so unconsciously and we quench our thirst with it and we survive through this miraculous substance is a profound and huge miracle. I saw this beautiful story from an Australian convert or a revert. He said at some stage he was looking for some kind of philosophy to adopt or religion to believe in. So he checked all possible, all available, accessible religions and philosophies from all over the world. And he said, I didn't find my heart in any of them. But Islam seemed to appeal to me and draw me in. So I started reading the translation of the Quran. And it appealed to me and I loved it. And it made so much sense to me. Then he said, I was somehow somewhere in the middle of the Quran. And when I was reciting it, I said, that makes full sense. But in order for me to believe, if Allah is really there and this is His word, He should give me a sign. So he basically, in his innocent, spontaneous way, he just turns and he addresses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he says, if you are there if these are your words, if Islam is the truth, give me a sign. Show me a sign, give me a miracle. Then he said, I sat down, it was almost midnight, summer night, in my house. I sat down and I was waiting for a miracle to happen. And he had a very simple conversation with, like, addressing or talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said in his, as I said, in his naive even style, he said, oh Allah, I give you 20 minutes. Show me a sign in 20 minutes. So I could accept this as the truth. So the 20 minutes, when they passed, they were over. So in the last minute he said, oh Allah, you only have 30 seconds. Give me a sign, give me a miracle before time runs out. Then he says, there was no sign. I was sitting and wait for a sign. No sign showed up. Then I said, oh Allah, I gave you enough chance. That's not the religion. That's not the truth. That's not the religion for me to follow. And he said, I decided consciously to stop looking into Islam. And I moved on. He said, but there was something in my chest that was pulling me towards Islam, towards that book, the Quran, that I left. So he said 2 days later, at night as well, he said, I found myself drawn into the Quran. So he left a mark where he ended up, where he asked Allah for a sign. So he said, I decided to open the Quran. I decided to open the Quran and recite. I found myself drawn into it to read more. So he said, I started off where I left off last time. So I started reading. He said, the first verse that I came across, they ask you for signs. They ask you for signs. But who guarantees that when they see signs, that these people would believe? But the translator put a commentary and he said, basically what the verse says, that these people ask you for a sign and a miracle, but if they look around, they would see the miracles are already there. So he said, that blew me away. And I looked around and I saw everything around me as a miracle and a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said, I felt shy how I was trying to impose my own conditions, my own rules on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He realized how blind he had been. So he said, when I opened up my eyes, I saw so many signs. I said, my life is a sign. Everything about me is a sign. And then he became Muslim. So sometimes it's our arrogance, it's our pride that holds us back from seeing the signs, from making us better Muslims.